Hey, welcome back to DieCash Cars. So today I wanted to talk about a topic that I've seen come up time and time again is how much are my Hot Wheels worth that have damage, whether that's to the card or the blister. Now we all know that in the game of selling Hot Wheels, we try to maximize profits. We always try to get top dollar when it comes to secondary market prices, but we got to be upfront with the folks that we're selling cars to. We got to be realistic about how much we're asking for the cars that we're selling. And card damage is a big factor in that area. So starting off at the top of the spectrum, here I have a Lamborghini Mirror Homage Super Treasure Hunt from 2018. And as you can see, this card is pretty crisp, pretty mint, guys. So this, I would say that if I ever wanted to sell it, I would list it at the top of the secondary price point. Right now, currently, it does sell for around $45 to $50. However, if there were any obscene damages or issues with the card or blister, I would have to sell it as far down as it's worth as a loose car, right? And just taking a look at a number of examples on eBay sold listings, that comes out to about 60% of what it's worth on the secondary market. So $45 to $50 brand new. If this was damaged or a loose Super Treasure Hunt, you're looking at $28 to $30. Looking at an example of a very damaged card, so this is a 1987 Toyota pickup truck, a very popular cast nonetheless, and you can see that it's got pretty significant card damage. You can see a straight bend crease line right here on the front end of the card. Definitely has a soft corner, and when I mean soft corner, guys, I don't mean just a tiny little bend on the corner, because that happens. That's pretty normal within the Hot Wheels world, but what I'm talking about is you can actually see the delamination of the cardboard itself. That to me is a soft corner. Something like this I would value at about 50 to 60% of what it is worth full blown on the secondary market, which right now a mint condition one of these cards is about $15. So this one would be around that $8 to $9 range. But what I'll say too is that if you are a bargain Hot Wheel hunter, right? So you don't want to pay that $15 for a good condition card, and you really just want the card, even if it's on a bad card, not a bad option. Although it's not mint, it's still a good representation of an older release of a very popular cast, and I'd rather have it damaged than not have it at all. So now you might be thinking to yourself, okay, so we figured it out. If it's very damaged, it's about 60%. If it's mint, you can ask all the way up to 100%. But what if it's in between? What if, let's say, for example, it is damaged, but it's still something that you can display? Well, that's what I got these three examples here for, to just share with you guys. Starting with this one here, this is the 2013 first edition of the Toyota Supra, and this is one that I had on my bucket list for quite some time because I had to get the factory sealed first edition version of this car. Not to mention my all-time favorite movie, Fast and the Furious. That is what this car was created after. But I'll say right out the bat, guys, that this one was very difficult to find. So combing through eBay and all the different social media sites, through the classifieds to try to acquire this car, it was very hard to even come across a listing, and even when it was listed, it was in the 50 plus range, right? So I would say that on the generous side, this car is probably worth $40 at the most, right? Eventually, I did find a seller selling this on eBay, and they were very upfront about it. They had pictures that showcased that this car had a little bit of a crack in the blister, although everything else is mint on this car. The card, there's no soft corners, the rest of the blister is fine, there's no edge wear or anything like that, right? So again, it's kind of in between a mint card and a terribly trashed card, right? So my rule of thumb, and a lot of the data out there backs it up, that the price point of something that is not mint, may have some minor damage, but is still displayable, is right around that 80% mark. So that's essentially how much I paid. If you factor in that this card factory sealed would be about $40–$45, I only paid $31 for this car out the door, so I felt like that was a fair price. And then again, it goes back to what I said earlier. I'd rather have it damaged, factory sealed, than not have it at all. And going back to what I was saying about being displayable, you take this card, you put it in a blister, guys, and stick it on your wall. It looks perfect. No one even knows that it has any kind of damage on it except you. Another example for you guys, this Nissan Fairlady Z Super Treasure Hunt factory seal from 2017. Similar to the Toyota Supra, it was pretty high on my want list, and every time I saw one of these factory sealed Supers on eBay or anywhere on social media, it was always selling for $70 plus. So again, after being patient for some time, I finally found this one on eBay with the seller who again was upfront about the damage on this. And not to the card, but another blister crack. And this one actually is more of a hairpin crack along the front end of the blister there, as you can see. But again, the card, everything else is in mint condition. So again, I reached out to the seller and he gave me a best offer of $53. And I took it, which at the time I felt like that was fair. That was, again, around that 80% mark, because again, the ones that I did see that were listed were around that $70 to $80 range. The funny thing is, guys, the latest sale of a factory sealed Fairlady Super Treasure Hunt is around $53 to $54, right? So if I had just waited 5 or 6 months, I probably could have gotten a mint condition one at the same price that I paid for this, but nonetheless still happy with it. And again, if you put it into a protector, it looks perfectly fine. And last but not least, we have this cool combi Super Treasure Hunt. You guys saw me pull this out of what could be one of the last 2015 sealed cases out there. But I gotta admit, guys, when I pulled it out immediately, I noticed that the condition was not perfect. So right at the top edge here, you can see there is a little bit of a crease line. I mean, these cars in mint condition, especially given the popularity of this cast and the age of this Super Treasure Hunt, you're looking at about $125 to $130. But again, 80% rule. If I were to sell this, I would disclose the crease in the top edge of the card and point out that this is essentially a card that you could display well, but it's not mint, which would put it at 80% of $120, which puts it right at about $100 if I were to throw this on the secondary market right now. So this damage value assessment also works on Diorama Sets, so it doesn't have to be just your traditional Hot Wheels on carded blisters. An example I have here, guys, this is the Nissan Skyline Diorama Set. Currently right now it's selling for about $90 to $100, which in all honesty it has jumped in value just in the last couple of months here. But earlier this year I only had one of these, so I knew I wanted a second one because I really wanted to do this little custom right here. This is the same set, but now that we have the Nismo versions of all three GTRs, the R32, the R33, and the R34, I knew I wanted to get them into this diorama set kind of as that rebel custom. But the value of these dioramas were just going up so high so quickly that I didn't have the guts to open it up. But luckily I was able to trade for a full set of the Nissan diorama at about a $50 to $60 trade value, because at the time these diorama sets were only selling for about $70-$75. The only caveat was that the box condition was pretty beat up, so you can see every single one of these corners has a little bit of a wear to it. The window itself, you can see it's pushed in, and yeah, just more wear and tear on the bottom. I mean, obviously it's been displayed and in all honesty probably not very well taken care of, but if I didn't make that trade, I wouldn't have had this displayed to put some secondary use to it, which now I really do like it, and I don't even mind that it's not mint condition, because this is an overall just a cool visual custom that I can have in my display. So in summary, my rule of thumb for selling cars based on condition, guys, is 100% if you feel the car is mint 80% if you feel the car is not mint but can still be displayed, and 60% if it has damage and probably would be better off loose. Although there could be a lot of gray area when you're talking about damaged cards, guys, you just gotta keep it simple. So again, 60, 80, 100%. Let me know if there's any other tips that you guys have for buying and selling damaged cards and blisters. Like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time on DieCash Cars.